Born of a broken man, but not a broken man. Born of a broken man, but not a broken man. Born of a broken man, but not a broken man.
That's it. That's all
There
you
we
had to
go.
do, man. That's all. I
I
know
love it.
we got to be the oddest podcast out there, asking our guests to do a little karaoke style just to
Yeah,
open
and
things
I
up.
apologize for not
No,
reading the
all good, man.
script.
You're great on the fly. You're totally great on the fly. Welcome, Spencer.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I know we chatted quite a few times. We met through LinkedIn, and you got a lot of stuff going on. But today we're going to talk about 813 leads. So this is
Mhm.
something that's, I guess, really important in the construction industry because I think everybody in construction don't know how to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
this is
no,
the
for sure.
sales part of it. We think we know how to do this, but we don't really know how to do this, man. So we're
Mhm.
hoping that you can kind of shed some light on all this, but definitely introduce yourself first and the whole 813 leads and the idea and how it all came about, and then we'll just get chatting about that, man.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm the founder of 813 Leads. I've been running our strategy that formed into a business for the last year and a half or so, almost, kind of going on 2 years. And this is a strategy that I've worked in, some businesses that I'm a part of and, some other businesses that I own. And I saw some real traction with how the strategy was working. So I started dealing with the strategy within the real estate space, and I was helping my girlfriend at the time, generate leads and connect with real estate investors on LinkedIn. And from there, she was able to build those relationships, and she was able to work a lot of off-market properties, and she was able to make a lot of commission out of that.
Nice.
So once I saw that, I'm like, I got something here. And then I started applying that same strategy to orthopedics. So I'm the director of marketing for an orthopedic group in Tampa, and I started running campaigns for the surgeons, connecting with nurse case managers, and primary care physicians, anybody that could essentially refer patients over to the orthopedic practice. And I saw that was working. I'm like, okay, I really got something here. And then I
So
started
same principles.
applying.
You're using the same principles, and
Yeah, same principles,
okay.
same system, same foundation, but it's not cookie cutter, right? Like, so any business, I have to go in and do a little bit of fact finding to understand how the business operates, where the revenue streams are, where I can create revenue streams, and just see where like the low hanging fruit are. First, I attack those, and then based on what the client is trying to achieve, then I fine tune things and adjust as needed.
Nice, nice. We're getting ahead of ourselves. I even totally forgot to tell everybody. So it's www.813leads.com. To get a hold of
Mhm.
you, Spencer at 81leads.com. And then all over
813.
social, it's 813 leads, right? And I also
Yep.
forgot to give the guys a shout out. I'm wearing a Magcore jersey here, the sweaty, the hoodie. Guys do demolition here in Toronto. I know you're in Florida, right?
Yep. Tampa,
So
Florida.
yeah, so we're in the same time zone, just about a street or two apart. That's all we really are, right? No. So it's all good. So I just wanted to just let her. I like doing little shout outs, giving shout outs and things like that. So I mean, I know that when I asked you when we started speaking, I want to first ask you the question: how important is LinkedIn to business in general?
I think it's super important,
I agree
personally.
with you. I agree with
Yeah,
you.
it's super important. There's so many professionals that are actively using the platform, and I feel like everybody is so hyper focused on Instagram and Facebook that they lose sight of like where you can actually build business. I feel like, in my mind, Instagram and Facebook are kind of like fluff. Maybe, Facebook's a little more family oriented. You have a little bit more of your tribe, but Instagram to me is becoming this just like, tip of the iceberg, like flaunt all your successes type of thing. And I was forced with some of the things that I do on the side. I was forced to pivot and focus a lot of energy on LinkedIn, and I see a lot of value there. If I want to do a ton of networking, digitally, that's where I'm going to do it.
I agree with you, Spencer. Totally, 100%. I've been telling everybody in the trades probably for like the last 2 3 years that LinkedIn is a platform that you should be paying attention to. If you're not already on there, then you're already missing out. And I agree with you that
Yeah.
Instagram and TikTok has just become a major ways to you. I guess you really have to be a surgeon to really figure out, because I know that there's a lot of real estate people, a lot of mortgage brokers.
Mhm.
They're sharing stuff on TikTok, and it's valuable to them, and they're getting traction, and they're getting people following them, which is great. Kudos to all them. But I just think when it comes to, I guess, serious business, Like
Yeah.
I don't see TikTok or Instagram being any part of that. I think just for having some fun and get a giggle out of it, great. But now I want to have some serious business. Let's go to Facebook and let's go to LinkedIn. That's where we're going to have
Yeah,
some business. Yeah.
absolutely. As far as business development goes, LinkedIn's where it's at. That's where you need to be. That's where you need to put your focus on. Now, brand exposure, that's when, you can tiptoe and kind of play around with TikTok and Instagram. And those platforms really they they favor video content, like short form video content. So like 15 seconds. That's why TikTok, and then Instagram came out with the Instagram Reels. You create these 15-second
Yeah.
short form videos that are kind of splices of a bunch of different things, and you put music on it and stuff like that. Those are the types of things that can go viral and get eyes on a brand. But as far as like building valuable relationships, LinkedIn's where it's at.
I mean, like we're talking about a demographic. It's probably similar to your girlfriends with real estate. You got to be talking late 20s and up,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
who's really paying attention. And as much as they're probably visiting those other sites, those other apps, when they actually want to make a hard decision, they want to pay attention to someone that's giving a sales pitch that's a little longer than 15 seconds. And I know that
Yeah.
I want to get into a little bit, and you decide how much you want to share the whole elevator pitch. Like, I mean, I guess in construction, let's just, I don't know what the extent of your knowledge is with tradespeople in construction in general and work and getting leads and everything like that. What are some of the things that we're doing wrong that we need to, we're basically leaving food on the table, by not doing these right things?
So I think first, the first thing that comes to mind is that we live now in a digital world,
100%.
and it's only going to be more digital, right? Like it's only trending in that direction. So like having that digital touch point and a ton of digital touch points, I believe is very important, but it doesn't always have to be like, there's a point where it has to stop being all digital, right? Like then you have to have that in-person type of interaction with people. And where I think people are falling short is there's so many tools out there, and there's so many services out there that can help you network and put your brand in front of a ton of people. You know what I mean? In a specific way to where you can almost, reach the masses. And I feel like that's so underutilized and people aren't doing that. There's a lot of people that I get in touch with, and they're like, oh, I'm old fashioned, I'm old school. So what does that mean? You go out and you door knock all the time? Like you go and, you go out and you get in touch with 10 people, maybe at most in a given day. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm getting in touch with hundreds of people. You know what I mean? And
In any
that's where I
given
feel
day.
like,
Yes.
yeah, and that's where I feel like people fall short.
It's funny is that a tradesperson actually sent me an email saying, should I redesign my business cards? I got this message today from it. Should I redesign my business cards and get some new business cards? And then it's funny that it's really ironic that you just said what you just said, because I said to that person, I said, we live in a digital platform. If you want to get a hold of me, then find me somewhere on digital platforms. Find me either through an email, a website, a social app, or something like that. Those are my business cards. Is that not
Yeah.
true, Spencer?
No, I 100% agree. And a lot of times, like, anytime I'm, pitching somebody or I'm bringing somebody on, as a client, I always tell them, like, I'm going to do an audit of your profile. And your profile is essentially like your LinkedIn profile is like a glorified resume. It's
Yeah.
your glorified business card, right? It has all of your important things on there. It has like, your picture, your banner, all of the, important pieces of information. So yeah, I 100% agree.
It's I think that they need to actually start structuring their business no different than if you were doing it with a handshake. When you were doing it with a handshake back in the day, you showed up a certain way. You were driving a certain kind of vehicle. You were introducing yourself the grip of your handshake was a certain way. Everything that you used to do transfer it to a digital platform now. Just think about
Yeah.
all the actions that you used to do and then translate it into a digital platform.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Honestly, like I've never thought of it in that sense. But yeah, like I come across so many people that they'll have like their profile set up, and it's just not aesthetically pleasing.
No.
Like sometimes they won't have a banner, photo. Like sometimes like the verbiage on their headline is all messed up, and that's what I go in and I do. I shape and all that up so it looks clean, it looks presentable, because that's how you need to present yourself. Like it's the first thing that people see when they get in touch with you, when they go to your page.
So Spencer, let's take a business brand new right out of the gate. no clients, no projects. They're just like, I woke up this morning, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to build houses, and I don't even know anything about building houses or whatever. So they're starting at zero on every single level. What do they
Mhm.
have to do?
Well, first they got to make sure that they actually have a business model. Like they need a foundation for their business. They can't just freestyle and start trying to make money. Like have some type of structure. Like I come from the personal training world, right? And I was a former personal trainer for years, so I'm big about structure and plans and having everything tight and together. And that's what I would suggest for somebody starting out is have a plan together, but don't like procrastinate and try to over perfect your plan, right? Like at some point you got to press go and you got to adapt and you got to learn quickly. That's always a part of the game. Well, I would say, structure and discipline and having a plan and direction would be, I think, the most important thing starting out.
So what are the key things that they need to be doing on the digital? So if I'm in construction, let's say, and I'm a tradesperson, right off the bat, first one, LinkedIn, right?
Mhm.
Second would be what? Facebook?
Uh, in construction, yeah, just because I favor Facebook groups.
Okay.
Um, and that's where I would say spend some of your time in like Facebook groups because you can figure out like you can find specific groups that you can find your clientele base, like your demographic of people in there.
So Spencer, how do we avoid because I know about the Facebook groups, right? It can
Mhm.
get volatile. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
if you say, especially in today's cancel culture world, right? Like you just say one thing incorrectly, you'll just get mobbed, right? So how do we navigate ourselves through that? Because I agree with you that you'll get more value with the Facebook group than you will actually just setting up a Facebook page on your own. You're already going to start to create a spider web of attention and possibly start draw. That's you door knocking in a digital landscape,
Yeah.
right? But you also have to be conscious of how you express certain things. Or I guess if people start talking politically, they start talking religiously, they start talking anything, maybe stay away from all that kind of crap.
Yeah, and you can censor that too. And like, so a lot of groups, like you'll go into Facebook groups and you'll see that they have community guidelines. And so you could set that up in your own personal community guidelines. Like if you were the one to make the group yourself, right, attract people to that group, you can set the guidelines of what can be talked about and what can't be talked about. I've gone into groups sometimes, like, I have a company in the cannabis space, so I've taken some cannabis valuable educational information. I've put it in a group for health and fitness,
Okay.
right? It applies, but this specific group doesn't want to hear about that. They just want to focus on specific things with health and fitness. So it's kind of like that. So you can set your own guidelines.
Okay. So then other than those two, what other platforms are you going to be tackling to try to get your exposure on the digital landscape?
So I guess my top four would be LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and then I really favor YouTube if
Okay.
you have the capacity to create video content.
Now there's
Um,
that I need to set up something like this, or I just grab my iPhone and start shooting, right?
Yeah, just start with making content.
That's all it
Put
is.
your word out there. Start with making content, get it out there, and then you can learn and figure out what you need to adjust on the way. Like if you sit there and plan for years of like, oh, I gotta get this, I gotta get just put your stuff out there and get it going and teach people what you want to teach people, right? I love coming from an educational, like valuable standpoint. Position yourself as a thought leader. I think that is super valuable, and you don't have to wait to get a studio to do that.
One thing that I did in the beginning, because I mean, I grew a healthy social media presence, and then I grew the podcast, and now it's got a healthy following as well too. The one thing that I never did was check out my competition. I was not interested in finding out what they were doing or how they were doing it. I didn't care what they were doing. I sat down with myself, or I would talk to other people that I work with, and I would just kind of plant a seed, and I would drop an idea, and I'd be like, what do you think of that? And try to get some nuggets from it. And then I'd be like, let me try that. Because I'm sure you've done this through your own experience. You
For
try
sure.
something, you think it's perfect, and it drops. It just fails. It doesn't do anything. It gets maybe one or two people paying attention to it. Then you do something with no effort at all, nothing at all, like nothing, and you put it out there and it explodes. So you just
Mhm.
don't know what will hit, what will miss, and then you got to get, I guess, capitalize on the hits and just ignore the misses. But I think it's really important is don't be so fixated on what others are doing. Just focus on who you are.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Like, look, I always like to examine my potential competitors to a certain point. Just if I can grab like, little valuable nuggets or like at least have something to measure up against, like yeah, that's cool, but a lot of times that like puts like a mental block
Yeah.
with, your creativity
Yeah.
and who you are, right? Like you almost start trying to model yourself after some other company or some other person, and it distracts you from just being you. And a lot of times just being you is what you need to be successful. You hear that all the time with people. Like I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast the other day, and he was talking about it. He's like, I don't listen to the noise. Like I don't read the reviews. Like I just do what I love
He'll go
and I
insane if
like
he
doing it.
did. You know what I mean? He can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just time consuming. No, I agree with you. And it's just like, and I told people over and over, there isn't another one of you.
Right.
So it's no different than you being on a job site and you're talking to a client or you're talking to a tradesperson or you're talking to a supplier. It's your personality talking to that person. It's your character talking to that person. All we're asking you to do now is make a digital version of that and just literally
Mhm.
sit down and write down, okay, who exactly am I? What exactly do I like? What do I want to do? What message do I want to send out? That's what you're trying to do. But I guess a lot of people have a hard time, but you shouldn't really. I mean, like I'm 50 years old, so I'm like, I don't give a shit about what I look like on camera. I give a shit a little bit, but not a whole lot. I mean, the thing
Yeah.
is, it's more about the information. That's what I care about
Yeah.
more, right? So it's like, get it out there. Just get it out there and just like get the vanity and the ego out of the way and just focus on getting the messages out there to your potential clients, potential people that you want to work with. That's the same
Mhm.
mindset that you're working with too, Spencer?
Yeah, for sure. And I see a lot of people, they'll procrastinate because they're trying to over perfect things. Just start putting stuff out and evolve, like almost throw yourself to the I've always been in my best. I've always done my best when I've thrown myself to the wolves and then like figured shit out along the way. That's when like I really thrive because I have confidence in myself to be able to do that, right?
Are,
And that's like I would always suggest people to go that route rather than trying to like over prepare and perfect everything before it. Like you're going to prepare for things that you don't even know are going to happen in the future. Just do your thing.
are they over procrastinating because I guess peripherally they've been paying attention to what the competition, so to speak, is doing? And so they're
That could be a part of it.
part of
That
it,
could be
right?
a
Yeah.
variable in like the mental block. But I think it's a lot of times people are afraid of failure, right? And people are afraid of getting criticized, and people are afraid of like mistakes. And that's no matter every successful person has had mistakes. They've had failures. It's inevitable. You're going to go through them. So it makes no sense to just like try to over prepare for all of those things. Just you know, go through it. Just press go.
Just go. And then when it does fail, just keep on going, try something else and just keep
Yeah,
on.
find a
You
solution.
learned. You learned from that one.
Have faith in yourself to be a problem solver, right? Figure out solutions and keep it going. Keep the train moving.
So A13 is fairly new. Just before we started recording, you were saying like you just got started it. So
Mhm.
how do you help us get those leads or how do you help us get those connections?
Yeah. So what I do, so technically, I've been up and running with this strategy and perfecting it for the last year and a half. But yeah, I officially started my business back in August, and kind of took it from a side hustle and saw an opportunity, made it an actual business. What I do is, let's say you were to sign up with me and be one of my clients, right? I would take your login information for your LinkedIn. I'd update your profile if it needed to be updated, and these are things that I go through with my clients, right? Like I'm never going to do anything without your consent
Of
and
course.
without you giving me the thumbs up, right?
Yeah.
So and essentially what I do is I network with hundreds of people each month through your profile, right? Like, and I do it in somewhat of an automated fashion to where the icebreaker is automated. You'll connect with people, you'll have your profile, liking their posts, endorsing their skills, kind of, and sending it like a little networking nudge, like, hey, this is who I am. It's very nice to meet you. Whatever the message is, right? It's just a friendly networking nudge, and then from there, more often than not, that networking nudge opens up an opportunity for them connecting with you, and then a conversation. So what I do is I curate lists of hyper targeted people, right? So let's say in terms of general contractors, right? I know that there's specific people that can feed business to those general contractors. Two of them being real estate investors and property managers, right?
Yep, for
So
sure.
what I would do for a general contractor is I would take their login information, make their LinkedIn profile look good, make them a company profile if they didn't have one, like a company page, right? So you have your personal profile,
Yep.
then your company page, right? And then I would curate a list of all real estate investors, all property managers in their area, or US wide if they wanted.
But you can
And
geo target on LinkedIn, right?
I can geo target. I can go down to a 5 mile radius of
Really?
their zip code. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'll do that. And then it's just about whoever's on the platform using the platform. And then it's a numbers game, right? So I'm going to connect with, like, I'll build lists of thousands, we'll connect with hundreds, and then like a few diamonds will fall through each month, and it's different from person to person, right? But all you need is that, one connection a month. Right. So let's say in terms of a general contractor, right? We get connected with one good real estate investor that they have that relationship now for as long as they want that relationship.
Yep.
That one real estate investor can keep feeding you business for however long. And right there, like, the ROI makes sense because I know what a lot of general contractors, can bring in, money wise, and I know what my services cost. So the ROI is a no brainer.
So Spencer, you're not, and I mean, I've read my fair share of business books and I've learned quite a bit. And some of my favorites are Success Principles by Jack Canfield and things like that. So it's like, you're never selling yourself right from the get-go. You're just starting the process of selling
Yeah.
yourself. So how many times, so you're setting up your profile a certain way to make yourself look, I guess, approachable. And then
Mhm.
I guess what types of conversations are you kind of sparking in these just short, brief messages to get out there that you won't come across? Listen, I've been bombarded with so many
Yeah.
messages on LinkedIn, a
So am
lot
I.
of them from Asia, asking me to do this and that and be a part of this and try this product and that product. I get it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's too long of a sales pitch. It's too much to ask of me.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do that's a little different that gets you right to the point that someone's going to want to keep your contact?
One, like, anytime I get a long, like, paragraph of a message, I'm not reading it.
It's done,
Right.
gone.
Yeah, so that's done because people's attention spans, like, nowadays, it's like this, and you got to think
Yes.
like that, right? So I come with a very short networking nudge, like, hey, so and so, my name is Spencer. I do this, I focus on this. It's very nice to meet you. Boom, like 3, 4 sentences tops, right? And I don't try to sell anything right off the
No
bat.
call
Like,
to action, no website,
no, I
nothing.
just want to reach out and introduce myself.
Okay.
And that's more, people are more receptive to that than you trying to sell them without even, like, introducing yourself. Like, no, I don't want to buy your product. No, I don't want to buy your services. Like, I don't even know you yet.
Yeah.
Like, nowadays, like, it was different, years ago with how sales worked and how psychology worked. Now, us living in a digital world, it's like people are like, I know when I am about to make a purchase, like, I'll go look at every little option that I can, right? Like, all the competitors, I'll read all the reviews, like, it
I'm the
takes
same
so
way,
many.
man. Yeah, I'm the
Yeah,
same
it
way.
takes so many more touch points nowadays than it did before. I don't know if you've ever read the Malcolm Gladwell book, The Tipping Point,
Yep.
where he talks about, yeah, you have to have like 5, 6, 7, touch points to be able to, so I think in that same sense, but now it's even more, right?
Yes.
Like, where I'll have these 5, 6, 7 touch points within LinkedIn, but now it's like a little bit of a relationship building thing, like, down the road. I might meet this person in January, but not sell them until like May, right? But you got to keep that going. You
Is
know what
it
I
true,
mean?
Spencer? It's kind of like I tell you, maybe you should go buy a red Mercedes. Tomorrow,
Mhm.
you're going to constantly see a red Mercedes everywhere you drive. It's just in your head. Is it kind of like that when you're on a digital platform? You kind of plant a little nugget and you kind of get them thinking. Because I guess, like you said, our attention spans are so finite that they could see a nice little, I'm so and so. He seems like a nice guy. Whatever. This is a nice company. I might actually need their services one day. But then, as soon as they go to another website, they forgot about you. So how
Right.
do we keep that retention? How do we keep that retention
Yeah,
going?
so it's not easy. It is really not easy,
So
but
much
there's
noise, right? That's why on a digital.
yeah, there's so much noise. Like, people are getting ads like left and right. So it's information overload. So in order to stay front of mind, right? And this is how I work it in terms of like my services and what I do with people's LinkedIn profiles is, I'll connect with that person via their profile, right? Send a little message, connection request gets accepted. I'll have their profile like a couple of their posts over time, not all at once, right? 3 days later, 5 days later, 3 days later, type of deal. I invite them to follow the company page, right? Hopefully they follow the company page. We have our clients post on their company page some valuable information. And then, right, hopefully they see that, but then I'll have them share that post from their company page to their personal page, right? So
Yeah.
now we're talking about 5, 6, 7 and multiple touch points. Then anytime I get connected with somebody on LinkedIn, you have opportunity to scrape all their data, right? So their email, their phone, and like their location and just certain, pieces of information. I put that all in a spreadsheet, and now you have an opportunity to do email marketing, right? So like, but with email marketing, it's a little tricky because you want to have email subscribers that opt in. You don't want to just grab 20,000 emails and just spam everybody
You're just
because you
throwing shit to the wind at that point.
yeah, because
Yeah.
you'll get like if you have a ton of people unsubscribe or put you like spam your email, like the algorithm is going to know that hey, this email they're spamming people. So you want to do the email marketing a little bit more strategical, but there's that opportunity.
So I got an interesting story that I want to share. I've been trying to get a hold of a certain executive, pretty big player, like a pretty big player, and I reached out and I did the kind of simple things trying to get and nothing, right? And I'm like, okay, all right, fine. So nothing. Then all of a sudden, I created a little video, like something creative, artistic, sent it. It got opened up right away. Right. But now I'm still trying to get back and see if I can have a conversation about that. But it was just an interesting experiment that I was trying. This person's a huge person in this industry, right? And
Mhm.
it just for me to send a bunch of feelers at first and nothing, and then all of a sudden I came up with something creative and they opened it. And I know that they
Yeah.
opened it, right? I was like, okay, so there's some interest there now. And the video kind of sparked that interest. So there's huge
Mhm.
value in doing that. So I think a lot of people have to think really outside the box to figure
Yeah.
out how you're going to make that connection.
Yeah, and I use that like I offer that as a suggestion for people when we're thinking about like, hey, how do we approach the initial introduction message and then how do we approach the follow-up messages? And I like the video approach, especially like if you have because in that video like you can smile, right? Like you
Yes.
can show your personality, right? You can put yourself behind that. And I think once people see that, you're more approachable versus you being just this black screen behind a keyboard type of deal, right? That's why like anytime like with like sales and like my clients that I work with, I'm like, hey, we need to get these people on a call or on a Zoom as quickly as possible, so that way they can see you, they can see your mannerism. It will help you speed up that relationship building goal of yours.
100%. So, Spencer, we got these segments during the show, and the first one is history. So it's funny that we're talking a lot about LinkedIn because we got a little history information about LinkedIn. I don't know how much you know about it. I didn't even know that much. Angelina is the one that came up with these ones, which are great. So
Nice.
Reid Hoffman founded LinkedIn in 2002 with a team of people who he worked with on PayPal and also socialnet.com. That's where it
Oh,
all started. And LinkedIn launched officially in 2003, but it didn't perform well. You can only imagine. And then LinkedIn's features originally drew in small businesses who accounted for most of its growth in 2004. LinkedIn only started generating revenue in 2005 with the launch of two business lines, jobs and subscriptions. That's when it started to make some coin. And then public profiles, the feature that LinkedIn is most known for today, didn't exist until 2006. It was this feature 3 years after the website launch that finally made LinkedIn profitable. After Reid Hoffman stepped down as CEO, LinkedIn went into global, opening offices in London and launching Spanish and French versions. It only grew from there. The longest running CEO, Jeff Weiner, taking leadership in 2009, acquiring M-Spoke in 2010, and becoming a publicly traded company in 2011. Now LinkedIn has over 850 million members, including us, right?
Yeah.
In over 58 million registered companies, most of which are being in the US, followed by India, Brazil, and then China. That's LinkedIn,
Nice.
man. That's why I've been telling everybody in construction, LinkedIn is seriously valuable, man, for finding clients, finding new avenues of work, opportunities,
Yeah.
ideas, places to share where you want to expand and try something
Right.
new, all kinds of stuff like that.
Let me ask you two questions or a question. Can you find, can you go in and search who exactly is a general contractor on Instagram?
You can do a search, but it's generalized. So you can,
Right.
yeah. So they give you a blanket, and they do that purposely, right? And also, Instagram is very difficult on geo targeting too, right?
Right.
So that's why it doesn't. But the algorithm. So if you start paying attention to your local GCs that are in your area, they will
Mhm.
constantly pop up over and over. But all you're
Yeah.
doing is just reaffirming the same circle that you're already in. You're not
Right.
expanding that circle.
Right.
LinkedIn allows you to expand that circle, right?
And that's exactly what I was going to get into. Like on LinkedIn, I can specifically search for people within a company, people with a specific job title, people within a specific industry, in a specific location, that have been active on the platform for a certain amount of time, right? Posted in the last 30 days. There's so many features that allow you to, network like a pro. And that's our slogan for our company is network like a pro.
Okay.
Like if you know how to use this platform efficiently, you can go on there and make some moves. Like you can meet some people, you can build some relationships, and you can really build your business up through this platform. And
I,
I know that from experience. Like I built my business up on Instagram before. It's not the same, right? Like the algorithm's always changing,
you
platforms are
didn't
always
build your network though. You didn't build your business network, I mean,
right,
from Instagram.
right.
I know that a lot of people here in Toronto, a lot of contractors have said, and tradespeople have said that they've gotten work. They get a lot of work because clients are actually surfing Instagram, they're on TikTok, and they're getting probably a job here or there too. But I think if you're a contractor and you want to start building homes, I don't think you're going to find your next potential client on Instagram or TikTok to build their home. On
Right.
LinkedIn, though, you're probably going to find them.
Yeah, and it's like it's so valuable for B2B relationship building. Like who within the industry do you need to get in contact with to help you move your business along, like move that needle, right? Like it could be a strategic partner, right? It could be somebody that you're looking to outsource, right? It could be whoever the hell you want it to be, but LinkedIn is going to give you the tools that you need to move your business along. Like I said before, Facebook and Instagram, it's a little more like casting kind of a wide net, so to speak, to where you're just hitting the masses, and it's better for just exposure and eyes on your business, but not the right eyes,
I
if
get
that
it.
makes sense.
No, it totally does. And then I want to ask you, Spencer, does it make sense if you're a contractor, start looking at more partnership relationships, not
Yeah.
necessarily just getting in there and just trying to be the lone person and get the lead yourself. Try to network with somebody else that you know may potentially be around that pool that you want to get to, right?
Well, it brings me back to so like what I do with the orthopedic group, right? I connect the surgeon's profiles, right? So I'm acting on behalf of the surgeon. I connect them with nurses and primary care physicians. Those aren't the patients,
No.
but those are going to be the people that are feeding the patients over to the orthopedic surgeon. So it's the same thing. You can build up referral partners, strategic partnerships through this professional platform, and I don't know any other way to do that this efficiently.
So would you partner up? So if we've got some Toronto contractors here, and let's say for argument's sake, a group of them are in the East End, and then you want to partner up with contractors from the West End, is that the idea? So you're kind of getting networking going that way, and then somehow start bringing in real estate agents in there, start bringing in decorators in there, start bringing in investors in there, that kind of idea?
Yeah, you could. I mean, so there's a bunch of different ways you can, how do they say it, skin a cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can do it a bunch of different ways, but where I focus on first is bringing people in money, right? Like people want to generate money, people want to generate business. So that's where I start off, with my specific clients, especially general contractors. Like, so that's why I'm so big on targeting the real estate investors and the property managers, people that can pass them off jobs quicker, right? Because I want my people, seeing results in the first month. I don't want them to wait months to see results and then everything kind of gets stale. I don't want that. We bust our ass to help bring in business, help build the business up, because that's what we believe in.
Was it easier for you, Spencer, to trial and error this in your own local backyard kind of thing, or was it
I had to. I had
right?
to.
But you tried it out right there or then just to figure it out,
Yeah,
right?
I had to. Yeah, I did this like so. I started doing it in the middle of COVID. Building up my hemp company, and just connecting with alternative medicine docs and people that would be receptive to that type of those types of supplements and medications and stuff like that. So I started doing a little test run there, and that evolved into me, playing around with, some friends and family, running campaigns for them. And then I just got a grip on it. I understood what I could use, how and then you got to take that personal part of it too, that sales experience where, you build relationships, you got to figure out how to be a wordsmith, how to ask the right questions, how to have a conversation to where, you can get valuable information, then you can give valuable information.
So the fine art of communication where it's slowly dying on a digital platform.
Yeah.
Like this is kind of a double edge right now because we're telling everybody you got to get on this digital platform. You got to start treating it this way. You got to cast a wider net. You got to pinpoint. You got to geotarget. You got to do all this other shit. And by the way, you can't forget how to talk to a human being,
Right.
right? Which is slowly disappearing.
Right. No, 100%. And that's exactly why, our company, our service is different from the rest because, right, we bring automation and we bring the masses to a certain point, right? And that's only in the icebreaker, right? Just to connect with these people. But then there's that human interaction, that the real human conversation that is so much more valuable than a robot just responding. People can sniff that shit out, man.
Yeah,
Like
you
you're
know
gonna
it.
know when a robot's talking to you. So that's where we're unique, where we actually have real conversations with these people, so that way they know it's us.
So with 813 leads, you guys will get everything started on the front. And then once
Mhm.
it gets to an actual, okay, we want to sit down now and talk to this person, either Zoom call
Yeah.
or in person or whatever, you hand that over to us and we take over from that point. And now here's the human interaction part of it, right?
Yep, and I'm not gonna be able to like anybody's business. Like, I consider myself good in sales, right? But I'm never going to be able to talk about your business and
No.
about your passion and your
Yeah.
project as good as you will, right? So, like, what I do is, and what we do is, we'll be the icebreaker. We'll connect you with all these people. We'll build it up to a point to where they're ready to book a call, a meeting, a Zoom call, whatever the hell it may be. You provide us with the Calendly link, or we coordinate something that of the sense, so we don't have to do a lot of back and forth. I don't want to be like, hey Manny, what time are you available? Like, I don't want to do that. Give me a
No.
Calendly link so these people can book and it's easy. That's how you build like an efficient stream, and funnel with this whole thing. So yeah, like we'll tee everything up all the way into the phone call.
So I want to ask you, Spencer, this is great for the starting point. We're just getting started. We already know how to plant our seeds and plant our business. Now we're rolling. We're into our first year, and now it's gotten stagnant. And all of a sudden, I want to like we got work. It's great, but I need to see growth now. Do I come back and start talking to you, and we start coming up with different ideas on how to start the conversation with a bigger circle? Is that what happens?
Yeah, so I always try to exhaust all efforts on seeing where the revenue streams can be created, right? Like, where are they? Like, where are you primarily generating your revenue right now? Where else can you generate revenue? And then like, what are the low hanging fruit? Let's attack that first, and then let's build from there. So I always like, anytime I bring on a client, I like to have weekly 30-minute brainstorming sessions with them, so we can kind of evolve this whole strategy. Like, I want to see how everything's going. I want to see where we can fine tune. I want to keep them involved the entire way, so that way we're like, this is a constant evolution.
I want to ask you, Spencer. are tradespeople, people in construction, or even I guess it's closely associated with real estate people as well, interior designers and things like that. Are we missing opportunities? Because I'll give you an example, and I'm sure you know about this, right? I'm not a fan of EVs, but I'm respectful of Elon Musk, right? And I was blown away what he pulled off with his tequila, right? Like, I mean, here's a car company coming along, and all of a sudden he comes up with a tequila, and he's already pre-sold everything. It's gone, and now the empty bottles are being sold for crazy money on eBay and all this other crap. Are there opportunities that people are missing in their business, even though that you make widgets and you build one thing? Are you missing opportunities by not thinking outside the box and coming up with different ideas that can be associated with your brand?
Yes, I think so. I mean, it's different per person, per company. Like for instance, my brand Hero, we sell CBD Delta 8 products. We're going to be in the cannabis space soon, but I know very well that like with this shirt right here, it says plants over pills.
Pills.
Yeah, and that's our motto. And I know that resonates with a lot of people. I've gotten a lot of compliments on this shirt, but this is a shirt I've yet to, sell and push. But I know I can generate revenue off of that. So that's an example right there. Yes, like I do think that it's just, I guess it all comes down to personal preference and bandwidth, right? Like
Yeah.
I know that I got my mind focused on so many, different things. I don't know if I have the bandwidth to start messing with shirts now because it takes me from like I'm manufacturing these products and setting this whole side of the business up, but now I'm dealing with clothing,
Yeah.
and it's a totally different process. So I think it depends on the situation, it depends on the person.
Okay. Because I'm just trying to think of if there's opportunities for real estate agents and other tradespeople. What would they think about? I mean, shirts are cool. If you can come up with a cool design shirt, hard
Yeah.
hat, hammer, whatever, all kinds of stuff, you can start making some. But you're right, though. Is it going to take your attention, your focus away from your primary business, right?
Yeah, and is it going to generate enough, revenue for it to be worth it, right? Is the juice worth the squeeze
Of
type
course. Yeah,
type of deal?
totally.
Like maybe if you were in, construction, you're a general contractor, maybe you developed or invented some type of tool that can help you, do some specific job, better or, more improved or something like that. That might be a kind of keep it within like the what you're doing already, right? So
Yeah.
it's easily manageable because it's in the same, boundaries, if that
So,
makes sense.
yeah, no, it totally does. So down in Florida, I know that all over the world, we're quickly learning through the show and everything like that there's such a disconnect in communication with construction. Like a lot of people don't know how to communicate who they are, who their business is, what service they provide, and shit like that. I'm assuming it's probably the same thing in Florida as well too. Like it's hard to actually communicate with people to get work done, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, what I've noticed, it's been like that, just, living vicariously through, my clients and then, my friend, I have a ton of friends in the real estate space. And communication is key. Like you got to be able to, communicate who you are, what you can do, what you're not capable of, and don't bullshit, like, cause that's just going to create bad blood. I've seen a lot of people get fucked over for the stupidest things. It's just be transparent, man. Like, do good business.
Are they like they're bullshitting for the just to seem a little bigger than they really are, kind of thing? I'm better than the competition, kind of thing.
Yeah, and to keep the business, right? They don't want to lose jobs. Like I've seen general contractors, promise this, promise that, oh, I can do this, I can handle that. But, they're outsourcing, terrible people to do their job and the product that they're putting out there is just it's off from what they've, promised and what they portrayed, up front.
So how does a person juggle more than one? So we get that one lead. You take us from the very beginning of it. Then now it's all of a sudden we're going to go and quote the job. Now we're going to sit down. Client likes us, and all of a sudden we start doing the work. They have a friend, and they have a friend, and all of a sudden lead after lead comes in, and now you're taking care of that initial setup, and now they keep on going. At some point, it's going to get overwhelming to the contractor, the tradespeople. How do we prepare ourselves for that?
Well, one, we can press, stop at any time. So
Okay.
like if we needed to pause, for a brief period to kind of gather everything, like, we could pivot and start putting our focus on another area, right? Whether that be email marketing, social media development. I mean, that's between, our company and the client on what they want to do. So that's always an option. But as far as like if you want to just keep those leads coming in and you don't want to lose those opportunities, all right, cool. Now, how do we scale, right? Like, how do you continue to bring in business? How do you put people in place to do the things that you need, that need to get done. And so that way you can continue to build, bring business in and build and grow.
I guess
Um,
that was my question, Spencer, too, is that how do we communicate slow the fuck down? I'll get to your job. Trust me, I'm the guy for you. How do I
yeah.
communicate that professionally to them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends on like the urgency on the other end, right? Like how quickly do they want things done? Like if
Well, we live in a digital age. Everybody wants everything done, and it's not possible, right? So it's like
yeah,
you gotta wait, and then hopefully they wait for you.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the good faith you know, thing to do in that situation. Be like, look, I can definitely do an amazing job for you. However, if you cannot wait for me, I have somebody great that I can put you in touch with, and that's when you build a strategic partnership right there. That's a possible route to go with it. But I understand how it is to kind of give up business. I used to do it in the training world, right? I was so booked up. I'm like, I can't train anymore. However, I know some great trainers that I could pass you off to, that I know you do well with. It's that sometimes is a good way to approach it, but
I think it's a great way to approach it because I've always told everybody that's been in this business, look at it more as a community instead of competition. And so
right.
if you can't do like these days, since I'm busy with this podcast, I get still calls for work, but I hand it off to people that I know, whether they've done work for me or people that have been on the show, and I respect them. But I'll tell the potential client, listen, I've worked with this person. I vouch for them 100%. I haven't worked with this person, but from what I gather speaking with them and they've been on the show, they seem like legitimate and they should carry out what you need to get done, but please vet them. Speak to them. You make your own decision on that point, right?
And that's exactly what I would do too. Because I've vouched for people that I wasn't 100% sure on, and that has burned me and burned relationships in the past. And you learn that early on, right? Once it happens a couple times, you're like, I'm not doing
You
that
don't want to
again.
deal with the headache of that. That's why I'm so honest with
Right.
that right up front. I just
Yeah.
listen. I have not hired this person, so you have to decide whether or not. I'm just like, here's a name. Everyone's always looking for names, right? And then also
Yeah.
in today's day, because it's really busy down there, I bet, and even through COVID, construction's just been ballistic. Everybody's just taking as much work as they possibly can, and then get his work. But then they're booking so many months, if not a year into down the line, right? So people won't wait for you at that point, or they'll
Right.
possibly wait for you, but well, we don't know what happens. Maybe they're talking to their circle of friends on LinkedIn or on Instagram or Facebook, and they're like, well, I know somebody else, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's where the risk is. I want to, if you can divulge, I mean, what's the cost associated with this service here?
Yeah, so my costs start at $600, and it's all month to month because I want people to see the value. I don't want to lock anybody into a contract that they're uncomfortable with. So it's month to month. I start at 600. That package will give you all of the LinkedIn lead generation services, but it won't cover the follow-ups, right? So that's for somebody that wants to do the follow-ups and all of the messaging themselves. If you feel comfortable, you feel confident in doing that and being able to book appointments, go ahead, handle it. Then we go up to the $800 package, and that's where we come in. We handle the follow-ups. We do all the responding to the leads coming through, and then we tee up those appointments, those Zoom calls, those meetings for you. And then we have a package that's 1,200 a month, and that's where we do all of that plus further marketing strategies. So, like I told you before, I'm the director of marketing for an orthopedic group. I have a wide range of skill sets, SEO, social media, content, curation, you name it, I've done it. And I've learned it kind of the grassroots way, where I've had to just kind of self-taught myself,
Of course.
YouTube university type of deal.
Yeah.
So that's how our packages are structured currently.
So that's good to know. So, I mean, how do we deal with, and there's a lot of them out there, as you probably know, it's just like you're basically buying bots or you're buying bullshit traction, right? And there is a difference nowadays, and we know the difference, right? We can see it. So if you start seeing spikes on certain things, great. But if you're not seeing spikes across your whole platform, then you know that something's been targeted. You know there's a flag on the plate, basically. It's a red flag at that point. How do we prepare ourselves to avoid all that stuff? Like everybody wants to take the risk and want to try new ideas and go out there, but all of a sudden spending anywhere from 600 to 1,200 a month, you want to make sure that you're getting results that are going to last a long time.
Yeah, for sure. So what I can say is like, I mean, most people I feel like nowadays have tried to buy followers and stuff like that via, Instagram or whatever, and it never works. And a lot of times when you're buying those followers, it's like a lot of fake spammy accounts. The one thing I can say about LinkedIn is that one, it does allow mild automation, so you have a little bit more to work with. And two, you can't create fake accounts. Anytime you create an account on LinkedIn, I want to say 95% of the time they ask you to verify. So you'll submit like your license or something like that. So they want to verify that you're a real person. So the community on LinkedIn should be most of like more often than not real people. So anytime we connect with somebody with your profile, to their profile, it's going to be a real person, and they're going to be doing what they say they do in the profile.
Yeah, it's ironic that you never see anybody who's selling services to expand your reach for a LinkedIn page. It's always
Yeah.
for an Instagram or
Yeah.
YouTube or TikTok. I don't
Right.
Facebook, I guess. No, I don't even know if they do Facebook. Maybe they do Facebook. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you can't really, I mean, like there's growth agencies out there and they have like their systems, but you can't use any automation on Instagram or Facebook nowadays because they'll flag you, they'll ban you. And same thing with LinkedIn too. Like they will, but there's a safe zone that you float in, right? Like you can only do a certain amount of actions a month. You can't overdo it. So like I always, with what we do, I stay in between like a safe zone, and that keeps all profiles in good standing and makes it look organic and real.
So, Spencer, I want to ask you. I mean, there's a potential recession happening next year, right? Like
Mhm.
everyone's just chattering about it. We don't know. Wars going on. Political powers are just abusing money. All kinds of. There's like all kinds of crap. We're just waiting for a spaceship to show up. That's all we're waiting for, right? It's like all kinds of dramas going on.
It's coming.
It's coming, right? So it's just everybody that has their own business, they're self-employed, they work to the bone, like $600 or even $1,200. I mean, that's a lot of money to them. So they start looking at it, but they know that they have to get into this space. Are we still doing the mindset where it's like, you got to get in, you just got to take this chance, you got to build this network out there because that network might get you through those rainy days that are coming. You know what I mean? Is that the case, or is there another way to do it where we slowly and softly get in there, or is there not? Which way is it?
Yeah, I think like you always gotta make that investment. Like you gotta invest your time, you gotta invest your money, you gotta invest your energy to you know, networking. That's how I see it. I'm like, you got to network as much as possible because you don't know who in your network is going to be able to help you at which time. Like I've had people come into my life that I didn't think were going to be anything and ended up helping me through some of the toughest times in my life. You know what I mean? So it's the same, thing applies here. If you're constantly networking, if you're constantly putting, your face out there, shaking hands, smiling, you can only better yourself and better prepare yourself for what may come.
Nice. I got more questions to ask you, but I want to share a little bit of OBC talk, which is just a building code here. Trust me, it's going to go right over your head because it's going to go over my head. It always goes over my head, man. So I just pretend that I know it. Exit and emergency lighting. Every exit corridor to an exit must be illuminated to an average level of 50 lumens at floor level. The minimum illumination must not be less than 10 times. Is it times or lumens? 10 times? Times. Okay, lumens. Sorry. Emergency lighting must be provided at exits, principal routes to exits, underground walkways, and must be powered by an electrical supply separate from the building's electrical supply. Emergency lighting must be illuminated to an average of 10 lumens at floor level. The minimum illumination must not be less than 1 lumen. I have no idea what any of this means, man, but I'll ask an electrician. Spencer, so I want to ask you, when we finally get that digital handshake, we finally
Mhm.
get in there. So now we don't want to mess it up. We never want to mess leads, right? Like it's extremely important that you don't want to drop the ball. What are some of the things that we should be doing when we finally meet our lead and we're ready to sell? And what are the things that we should not do?
All right. So, easy question. Strike while the iron's hot, right? So I have a lot of clients, and this is why I brought on like the appointment setting package to my whole offering. Because at first it was just like, hey, I'm going to set these systems up for you. You're going to handle it yourself because I don't have the time. But I realized a lot of people were just letting shit go, right? Like I had all these leads coming in, they're not even responding to these people. And if they respond to them, it's like a week later. Who want like you just
It's too
introduce
late.
yourself.
It's way too
Yeah,
late.
it's way too late. You got to keep it within a 24-hour window. So the one thing is respond right away and be prompt and disciplined to do that every single day. Because that's what it takes to be able to field these leads and field these people coming through on a daily basis. The flip side to that, what you shouldn't do is waste your time when somebody isn't for you, right? Like you have to qualify people, you have to vet people out, you have to what's the word? You have to figure out whether they're worth it or they're not. And there's like you'll have like certain qualifying questions that you can ask them to figure out like if this person is even somebody that I should be having a call with, right? I've gone down the path where I've exhausted all efforts to try to like win somebody over. That person isn't for me. It's not the right time for them.
Can I ask
I'm
you?
the next one.
Can I ask you, Spencer, if that
Yeah.
potential lead strikes up the conversation or the rebuttal about money, are they right or
Mhm.
wrong?
Uh, they're not right or wrong. I
Okay.
think it's
No,
neutral
no,
at
sorry.
that.
Are they right or wrong for you? If they're so
Oh,
fixated on the
mhm.
cost of your service, are they right or wrong for you?
um, they might be wrong at that point in time for me, just because it does. Every successful company has a marketing budget and they use it wisely. They not every single dollar that they put towards something is going to work and be a home run. Doesn't work like that. But if you can live in like a 70-30 ratio to where you're going to spend $100, at least 70 of those dollars went to somewhere good, beneficial, and $30 maybe, was a dud. Right. That's just how it's going to be. But if you can live in that like 70-30 ratio, I think that's good. So,
So even as a small business, I know that we talk about Nike and certain companies, Apple, and trillions of dollars, and that's their marketing budget. But if you're a
mhm,
small business, you come from a marketing background. What's the
mhm.
what's the small percentage that we should be looking at our profit that comes into our business that we should be allocating strictly for marketing for trying something 70-30? How much do you
Yeah,
figure?
I'd say like it depends. It depends on where you're at and what the business is, and like there's a lot of variables that
If you're
play into
just
that.
getting started, brand new business,
Yeah, if I'm gonna give a simple answer, I'd say like 20%, 20, 30%.
20%. So 20% of your
Yeah.
money generated that you're making, you should
Mhm.
allocate towards a marketing budget of some sort and then come up with surefire 70% ideas and 30%. Let's just give it a try and see if it works, right? That kind of
Yeah,
idea.
and that might be out of the gate. You're gonna, let's say you're bringing in 10 grand a month, right? Just for easy numbers sake. You're going to allocate 2 grand of that towards your marketing budget, and that 2 grand is going to be spread across different strategies. There's going to be a lot of, especially in the beginning, there's going to be a lot of trial and error, right? Like you're going to go into things and you're gonna like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know if this is going to work, but I need to try it, right? And then you slowly but surely weed things out, right? You're going to find something that works and you're going to trust in it, and you're all right now. Maybe that's I spent 500 bucks on that. Maybe I double down now. Maybe, right? Like that's what I do with ads, right? Like if I have $1,000, I'm going to put it towards ads. I always put out two different ads, right? And I do a little bit of A/B testing. You know, ad A might be something that I think is going to kill it. And, ad B is something totally different, but that one hits. So, all right, now I know I'm going to scrap A, I'm going to double down on B, and that's where we're going to focus our budget, right? There's a level of testing that you have to frame it that way in your mind, or you're going to drive yourself crazy and you're going to be very scared to spend money to make money.
Now, are you also thinking that it's not working, so then I'm not going to try this again? But you never know. You may have made a connection somewhere that isn't ready to pull the trigger, but they will in 6 months if you're around and still pushing, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. And then a lot of times too, like I've seen people that have gotten into certain marketing strategies, but they bail too quickly. Like you also like anytime I get into something, my rule of thumb personally, and I've heard other people say this too, but this is just my personal opinion. Give it 3 months.
Three
Give it three
months.
months. Like I feel like that's a solid amount of time to see if something's going to translate into business or it's not. After 3 months, if you feel like this isn't for you, then on to the next one. Try something else. But you have to have somewhat of a marketing budget if you want to scale. Like if you want to grow your business, it's just a part of the game.
And then you tell me or not, because I haven't even looked into it, but is LinkedIn offering ads now? Can we put ads on LinkedIn,
Oh
or
yeah.
you can do
Yeah. So
that?
I do I haven't had crazy success because I've only tried the ads a couple times with the orthopedic group. So when it comes to ad platforms, I put Google at the top, right? Because if you're people are going on Google to search for specific answers, right? So that's where like ads I see is number one, and then Facebook/Instagram is number two, and then I like YouTube too because I feel like people go on YouTube to search for answers as well. Um,
It's funny
you
you say
know,
that, Spencer, because I've been seeing a lot of geo-targeted local ads on YouTube. And you're like
yeah.
going, I don't get it, man. I'm watching this video for, I don't know, some movie trailer or something like that. And I'm seeing local plumber guy in Toronto's ad right there. And I'm wondering, how expensive are these ads, or are they affordable now?
It depends because like if you go in, you're gonna set your parameters for the ad, right? You're gonna be like, hey, I want to target, this area, this type of person, and you set your parameter on the back end when you're setting up the ad. And then it'll show depending on what you put for the budget. Let's say you put $300 a month, it's gonna spread it out to whoever fits within that $300 budget. And it could be just random people. But that's kind of how they do it.
Now, I've been taught by others, people in marketing, Google is definitely, I agree with you, and they've agreed with you as well, too. It's the number one platform. The real trick is the keywords that you use.
Yeah.
You have to be specific about the keywords and the way you set up those keywords. Otherwise,
Yep.
Google will just give you the entire freaking world. You know what I mean? And now you're not really
Yeah.
going to get pinpointed at that point. So that's critical. Those keywords are very, very critical.
Yep, the keywords, and then so I always same thing with SEO too, right? Like if you want your website to rank on the first page of Google, there's a lot of things that you have to do within your website, keywords that you have to put in there to be able to rank for those specific keywords. And anytime I'm searching up keywords, I always look for, and they have platforms where you can kind of do this research. But how many people in a given month are searching for that word on Google, right? And then you figure out which, words that you want to target and what that potential reach is, and then you just kind of go from there.
So during that 3 month period where we trial and error and we give it a go and we try a bunch of things over those 3 months, how do we know that these leads that are coming to us were actually as a cause and effect of that without asking the potential client that we got that hired us, right? If we don't ask them, how did you find us, or what was the story? Well, I saw the Google ad and I worked away. But if they don't tell us that information, how can we find out that information that it actually came from the marketing money that we spent?
Yeah, great question. I'm going through this, and it can be very challenging. But I'm going through this, with the orthopedic group that I work with, and we wanted to understand, for these TV commercials that we put out there, like how many people were actually, clicking on the commercial, or seeing the commercial and then going to our website and stuff like that. So sometimes it can be very, very, very hard to track that, and there's other times where you can prepare for that. So like in terms of a YouTube ad, right? Like, you set up that YouTube ad, you have some type of call to action on that YouTube ad, right? It's click the website, right? So now every month, like you can go in your Google Analytics, you can see where all your traffic sources are coming from, right? You find YouTube, and then you see how many people from YouTube clicked on, whatever to go to your website. And that's where you can kind of, frame it in your mind and get a good idea of, how it translated.
Now, is it worth it? Because I know that I've been watching a rash of people in the construction industry ponying up and going YouTube Premium and going Spotify Pro and all this other, to avoid ads and all kinds of stuff, right? So we're
Mhm.
avoiding ads now. So we're avoiding opportunity to get our messaging out there. But is that segment of the audience of the population growing? I can only assume that it is because we're sick and tired of ads.
Yeah, and honestly, that's where like they'll make their money too,
Yeah,
like the platforms.
of course.
It's like what was it, Pandora? You could pay like an extra like $5 or $6 a month, and you get no commercials after every song or something like that. Yeah, I think that's growing, but it'll like advertisements will evolve. Like they've always evolved. Like the marketing nowadays is totally different than it was 5 years ago, and it's just gonna keep on that trend. So there will be other ways to get ads out there. Maybe they're being developed right now, or maybe they will be in a couple years. But that population is growing, but I don't think it'll like
It won't overtake it, right?
Yeah, it won't overtake because we'll always find like solutions, always find a way.
And then I wanted to ask you about, are there other opportunities that we can look at where it's more of those forums like the marketplaces or the actual Facebook groups? I can only assume that there's like they're going to be offering pin boards and all kinds of stuff and opportunities to kind of just plant your business service and seed, right?
Yeah, so I really like, going into Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups. Those are some good places where you can find potential, leads. And then I'm big with business citations. So what a business citation is like your Google My Business, your Facebook business profile, your Yelp profile, your Better Business Bureau profile. Like these are considered business citations. And when you set up a ton of business citations, Google and like the algorithm will recognize that, oh, this is a real business, this is a real, entity, and it's important because I see it on all of these different platforms. And there's a ton of free business listings out there that you can set up. And it's basically just like a little profile with your business information, right? Your contact info, who you are, your logo up there. And there's a ton of different services that you could use to, set these up.
So you set all these up, get them going. Do you have to feed them all the time to keep Google
Uh,
and not right? So once
no,
it's set up, right?
Yeah, once it's set up, and like God forbid you change your number or you change like your address or something like that.
It's really the
There's certain
URL, right? As long as you're keeping the same URL, which pretty much every business is going to keep that same URL, right?
Yeah, but even if you changed it, right? Like, so there's certain services out there where you can like input your information and then you can pay for them to set up, let's say, 25 business citations, right? Which would take you hours,
Yeah.
right? Maybe days
Yeah.
to do. You pay a certain amount of money, they do it for you. But let's say like your website changed or your address changed or your number changed. You can go in there on these, platforms, you can change your information and then just like have them resubmit everything or make edits.
So I wanted to actually just pick your brain on Rumble. You know what Rumble is, right? Video
Educate.
platform. Sorry,
Well,
Rumble.
educate me.
Okay, so Rumble is Rumble. I guess made some noise when Joe Rogan had his little bit of a cancel culture there, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden there was the Neil Young bullshit about get rid of Joe Rogan or get rid of Neil Young, and Neil Young
Yeah.
didn't realize that he was expendable and Rogan wasn't. So then at that point, Rumble came along and they offered Joe Rogan $100 million to join Rumble. Rumble's basically just like YouTube, but the monetization is greater. There's a lot more freedom. There's a lot of political stuff on there, but I just threw the podcast on Rumble recently. I was messing with it on the weekend. I just said fine. I threw 20 shows on there, and it's just getting started. And that's why I had a lot of the questions about you start at zero. Anybody who gets on a digital platform, you start at zero. I don't give a shit who you are. Everybody starts at zero. So Rumble's there, and even before I left the house to come here and start recording the show, it started to get some views. So now this is an unknown entity on Rumble, and people are going to start to pay attention. But I have this funny feeling that it may actually start to grow quite a bit, maybe close into the same lines as YouTube, right? And then it also got
Mhm.
me thinking about Daily Motion. So then I've started planting the show on Daily Motion as well, too. Just like you said, experimenting, right? That's all I'm doing. I'm just trying to get it out there because I noticed when I started doing the podcast, sure, I threw it on iTunes, I threw it on Spotify, and then I threw it on a hosting service. And then all of a sudden I threw it onto SoundCloud. And before I knew it, I had 13 channels. Now I have 15 channels. You're doing this because the majority of people are on iTunes, YouTube, and Spotify. Those are the top three. But there are a lot of people that are on those secondary, other platforms that you're out there. So they'll find you, and that's their search engine, and people are using Chrome and people are using Google, and like everybody is just changing, right? So it makes sense to get your message. It's still your message. It takes time as a business owner, but I
Yeah.
guarantee you that if you start planting yourself on these different platforms, you eventually will get a lead. You must get a
Oh,
lead, right?
100%. Yeah. And like in terms of like uh let's talk SEO, right? Like
Yeah.
search engine optimization. Anytime I'm trying to rank one of my websites or boost traffic to one of my websites, I list my site obviously on Google, right? So it gets indexed into Google. 95% of people use Google, but there's also people that use DuckDuckGo, and
Yeah.
there's also people that use Bing, Yahoo, right? So like you want to list your site with those platforms too, because just like you're saying, like there's other people on there, right? You might be on YouTube, you might be on Spotify, and hundreds, thousands of people are watching your show, but you might get tens to 100 of people on, this one smaller platform. And who knows, maybe you blow big on that one platform. You know, all said and done, it's worth it.
You already have the content. So like Spencer, honestly, you've already
Mhm.
created the content and it's in your phone, it's in your computer.
Yeah.
Post it. It takes nothing but
Yeah.
just like the time to upload it. And all you're doing is cut and pasting the content that was the copy that was attached to it. And then you're getting it on this other platform. And you don't
Yeah.
know who else might catch this, but I guarantee you a lead will come from it. It
Yeah.
has to come
Oh,
from
I,
it.
I 100% co-sign.
Yeah, yeah, no. So okay, that's great. We're getting close to wrapping it up. I just got a little bit of brief green book talk, which is OSHA down by you guys, man. Fines for OSHA regulations are broken into minor fines, medium fines, and major fines. Any idea what a minor fine, how much value you think for individuals or in unincorporated businesses? Fines, what kind of price range you thinking?
Um, Good question.
Well, here in Canada, if you're not wearing a hard hat, it's 250, right? So it can get
Okay.
as low as 250 and it can go as high as $1,000. That's a minor fine, right? So medium fines are for individuals $100,000 or less, which basically involves prosecution, start getting authorities involved and all that. That's usually if there's an injury, if there's a death, that's where it starts going into that. Major fines would require if there's more than one offense and it starts getting up to 1.5 million, then you start getting into penalties from OSHA. You get work orders, and then you finally end up at imprisonment up to 12 months in prison if you're doing something bad in the construction industry, man. So, anything else you want to share, Spencer, that we haven't talked about, man? This has been fascinating talking about leads, man, because it's a fine art, man. I'm telling you, it's a fine art.
It is.
And as a business owner, you would just do yourself a great service if you actually spent the time to, like you said at the very beginning of the show, just plan it all out, man. Plan it
Yeah.
all out and prepare for it, and don't procrastinate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
have
totally.
a have a really good idea, at least try to get it to like 70 to 80% of the way there, right? You're not going to perfect it off the rip. Get it 80% of the way there and then feel confident enough to move forward and problem solve. But I would say like most people know how valuable it is to network, but now you got to figure out the right ways to network digitally. And you have to do it in the right ways. And I think there's an art to that, just like there's an art to sales. There's now an art to digitally networking. And I think there's right ways to do it and wrong ways to do it. And I feel like that's where our company really sets ourselves apart from what you would call competitors. Is that we've kind of figured out some of the right ways to do it and how to do it in a genuine real way, to help build these relationships. And I've been it's exciting for me to see the results that our clients are getting. Like we have one client in the cannabis space, and we helped them land a pretty big deal with a national dispensary. And they wouldn't have gotten that relationship had we not run a campaign for them, through this. And that's pretty exciting to see that. Just for the orthopedic group, it's exciting to see all these relationships that we're building and all these patients that we're able to bring through the door, that wouldn't have existed if we weren't doing this. And it's all being done digitally. And I vouch for LinkedIn. That's where we have our most success. But you can do that on Instagram. You just figure out your ways to do it, but just do it digitally and figure out how to do it the right way without spamming people.
So one of the things, Spencer, that I've been taught, I guess, ever since you start running your own business, is keep your mouth shut to certain people. Like, not everybody needs to know what is burning inside your head. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, be very specific, pick specific people that you want to address and talk about, and focus on doing it, get it done, and then let the cause and effect after that happens and let everybody else. But I find a lot of people, especially on social media, being attached to social media, that whole mindset of Instagram, it has to be instant. So I have to share it. I have to fucking talk to so many people. No, you don't. You don't. When it comes to your business, you want to build your business, you have to speak to maybe your significant other, maybe one or two other family friends, maybe your fucking dog. I don't know. But like, keep it really, really small, that network. And then just keep it, unless the idea, there's a problem in the idea. And like you said, you map it out, you plan it, you work it. And if there's a missing cog, if there's a missing piece, then you got to start thinking, well, how the fuck do I solve that? And if that takes like a few trips to the toilet, or if that takes like a few drives or something like that, then figure it out. But don't be sharing all your fucking ideas to everybody, because the majority of people don't want you to succeed. They don't give a shit about you. And the majority that do care about you don't want to hear it either. They just want to see it. That's it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm very social and I'm very open and I'm very transparent, a very transparent person. But I am very selective with who I, share an abundance of information with, right? Because to your point, like, you're 100% right. Like there's people that will smile in my face, but they secretly want me to fail.
100%.
So like I've gotten a better intuition and a better, I guess, vibe check now by kind of, figuring out if people are on my team, and if people are have a good energy and a good heart to them, at least when it comes to me. So yeah, and I have a good grip. I think I'm confident in being able to sniff out the bullshit.
The crocodiles, man.
Yeah.
Crocodiles. I got one last segment to do, Spencer, here, which is the 12 questions, man. So these are all construction. I guess they're relevant, but I guess, man, you've been around construction. You know a thing or two, so it's fine. You ready for this, man?
Yeah, let's do it.
This will be painless. There's no right or wrong. There's no test. It's not a test.
Okay.
What is your favorite construction word, Spencer?
Um, Favorite construction word: development.
What is your least favorite construction word?
Mm, Work.
What turns you on in construction?
Uh, just new developments, growth. Like a finished product. Like that to me is exciting.
What turns you off in construction?
People not finishing shit.
Yeah, no shit. What's your favorite curse word? It can be used in a phrase or it could just be on its own.
Fuck, fuck, fuck.
There you go. What is your favorite vehicle in the entire world?
Favorite vehicle in the entire world. I really like my Jeep Grand Cherokee.
The new one?
It's a new one. Yeah, I really
It's
like it.
huge, man. They made it massive.
Yeah, it's a perfect size for me. And I want to play around with it. I don't need anything too flashy or anything like that. Like I like my Grand Cherokee.
Nice. What's your least favorite vehicle in the entire world?
Oh God. So anytime I'm driving in like my garage, or I'm going to Publix or some supermarkets trying to find parking, it's when you think a spot's open, but then it's like one of those really short cars.
Smart car or something like that?
Yeah, so those cars are my least favorite.
What construction sound or noise do you love?
Um, Drill.
What construction sound or noise do you hate?
Ah, the backing up of any like track beat.
Beep, beep. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's been expressed a few times. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt one day?
Ah, man. One day, like in a dream world,
Anything. Anything in the world.
I'd love to be a football coach. Yeah, I played
Nice.
football, in college. I played overseas a little bit. It was a big part of my life for a long time. That would be cool to get into.
Nice. What profession would you never want to do?
I don't think I'd want to be an attorney.
Yeah.
Regardless of the money, it's just high stress. Just I see, I've been around a ton of attorneys. Like,
It's
not
got
for
to
me.
eat away at your soul, man. It
Yeah,
has to eat away at your soul. Just
yeah.
if you still have a soul. And last question: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at those pearly gates?
Hmm. I love you. Welcome.
Nice. That's all. That's all. Spencer, how do you pronounce your last name? I never even try last names. How do you pronounce it?
Boudreaux.
Boudreaux. There you go. So thank you so much, man. It's 813 leads, www.813leads.com, and it's Spencer at 813leads.com, and on Instagram and all kinds of social, it's 813 leads. Greatly appreciate your time, man. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you for having me. It was
All right.
awesome.
Cool. We are out of here. Thanks so much.